Hello, everyone. It is Sunday and everything is going to be all right. It's going to be okay because we are here together to do our weekly setup for week 1 of March. My name is Katie Gideon. I am so excited to be your on-camera facilitator, dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland, but you are also joining the former Team Texas, but always Team Texas, because I want to give a huge shout out to my co-facilitator who you will see in the chat, Jennifer O, who was out gardening today. And so we are so excited to spend this Sunday with all of you and get us set up and ready for the week this week. And then I'm already seeing some of our returning socialers. It is so great to see all of you in the chat. It's always great, I feel like, to greet each other by name and just get excited to know that this is going to be a great social. We're glad everybody's here. But then also, if you are new, we would like to know that in the chat. If this is your first social, maybe it's your first weekly setup social, maybe you usually come on different days, and so this is your first time on a Sunday. But if you want to share in the chat with the larger group, just make sure that the chat is set to everyone. The Zoom default will be hosts and panelists, which comes to myself and Jennifer, which is always great. We love to answer those questions. But if you're certainly wanting to share or get kind of support or comments or other ideas from everybody else there, just double check and make sure that it's to everyone. And I already see that we've got a new person, Samantha. Welcome. We're glad you're here. Just as a little bit of a heads up, this can be a little bit of a kind of influx of sensories because you have the chat that the chat that goes by kind of quickly. You can always pause the chat. You can kind of make it smaller. I will be talking. I will be playing music. So if I get too much, you can mute me. You can mute the music. The slides will be going on. And at the same time, you're going to want to try and work on your journal. So just take a big deep breath. Take a little bit at a time, focus on what little pieces of what you want, what you need, get that phone out, or if you're on your computer, have your snip grabber ready to go to take some screenshots. But at the end of the day, there is no right or wrong way to participate in the social, and there is no right or wrong way to journal. No one is going to come in and look over your shoulder and see how much you have gotten accomplished on your journal. This is just time that you have set aside for yourself to kind of take what you need from this. If that is, again, just to be with your thoughts, enjoy the camaraderie in the chat, to listen to some music, or to actually kind of definitely knock out those pages. We are glad that you've come exactly as you are, and you're going to work on this. And we're going to be here to help. But as always, be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. We know it can be a little tricky just because it's chat and everyone puts all the feels that they're feeling in it. So kind of don't take it personally, but also let's be careful there. Limit those repetitive product and accessory questions, but we do like to talk about stickers. We do like to talk about all those kind of fun things that make our weekly pages maybe pop for us. And then while we have some information, we will most likely redirect some of those customer care inquiries to our team at hello@silkandsonder.com. And then, as always, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. That's why we're all here. But you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So we are here to celebrate all of the wins, to give you that extra love, thought, and support for some of those not so winning wins. But we are glad that you've come exactly as you are. But if you need to set up some of those mental boundaries, some of those mental barriers, or just kind of step away and take a break, take that time, take that space, we are just glad that you are here exactly as you are. And we are so excited to start working on these pages. So, new month, new theme, and the theme is vitality. And so I hosted a monthly setup yesterday, and I talked through my process of I didn't really know what vitality meant. And it was one of those words that I didn't get enough context clues around it that I still don't really know what it means. I have other words that are just a little bit more prominent, and I have a hard time separating them. So I went down the synonym route. And so that's where I found some of these synonyms, and the ones I really liked: sparkle, passion, energy. So I feel like those can be a little bit interchangeable for me when it comes to vitality. And especially as we move through some of the prompts, to me, some of those synonyms make a little bit more sense than vitality. But then I found this great quote, which to be honest could also be an advertisement. But I like that vitality is your natural state. And what I liked about this is my theme for this year is back to basics, kind of back to some kind of fundamental core values that I have, because I've had a lot of changes by choice. They've been good changes, they've been positive changes, but I've lost a lot of self-confidence. I've lost some emotional control, mental control. And so I liked the idea of coming back to this kind of natural state, or at least accepting kind of energy as is. And so I thought, again, that was like my aha moment a little bit earlier today of, okay, I may not really know what vitality means and it may not resonate with me as deeply, but I can exchange some of these words here. And then this foundation of vitality is your natural state. So it is that kind of coming back to, the natural state is joy, or your natural state is driven by your passion or your liveliness or that kind of zest for life. I feel like all of those kind of isms that I really do like and I want to kind of embody and outwardly present. Those are kind of the ideas I went with. So that's why that's kind of where I want to focus right now with vitality. But I would love to see your thoughts in the chat on vitality. Is this something that you knew right away this was going to be something for you? Or was it going to take you a little bit to get to that next step? So we are going to dive into that vitality mind map first. So if you are just now joining us, don't worry, you are right on time. We're getting ready to start those prompts. And then we're going to do our rosebud thorn reflection, and then we're going to move into those weekly setup pages. So the vitality mind map is, the mind maps are unique to the weekly setups. It's something that we do at each of those weekly setups, and that's where we can dive a little bit deeper into the theme for each month. And as always, we usually do 4 questions each month, just because it looks really nice on a piece of paper. And if we have some extra weeks, then we'll add in some of those bonus questions. So you're gonna find a blank spot in your journal or go to a blank page. I know a lot of people will use that last notes page just because it's easy to find. And you're gonna split it up into 4 areas. It's not printed, and I know people always ask why it's not printed, and I think it's because we really like the creativity of being able to design the mind map. So in the example on the next slide, that's my personal example. I'm on a big, like, kind of, it came out of the Christmas lights. And I love that someone was like, Christmas lights year round are fairy lights. So it's the fairy light theme with stickers. And I know Jennifer O has been using some amazing cookie cutters. So you can add that kind of creative stamp or kind of help find your way with the particular theme. So for the week 1, emotional vitality. And that is, how do you recharge emotionally after a draining day, and what practices help you feel more balanced? I found this question really tough. And I think it's because it hits all of the things that I'm self-conscious about and all the things that I know I need to work on. But we can talk through not only that particular question, but I've also thought of some other approaches to this question if that one doesn't quite work for you kind of answering. And so it's, how do you recharge emotionally after a draining day? What practices help you feel more balanced? And then it's, how do you take charge? What are the signs you are reaching a low battery? Are those things that you can kind of recognize? Are they things that just kind of happen? Do they happen too late? Do they happen too soon? Do you get to be proactive, or do you have to be reactive? And then I also thought the idea of, again, bringing some of those synonyms with passion is that you can use some of your core values that ignite your passion and get you excited. What gets you back to that natural state? And then I liked the idea of, and again, this kind of became very personal for me with these, sometimes actions are required, but there are times when inaction is the best decision. For me, trying to dig a little bit deeper and kind of recharge myself emotionally doesn't quite work. I get stuck in this really weird spin cycle and I can't quite get out of it. So I am definitely one of those, a little bit of the kind of maybe brace for impact and let it ride. I grew up around boats and the ocean. So I'm a big one of those of, like, the waves and the tides are always going to be happening. And sometimes I just do better when I can kind of respond to those and not mess with it. Or maybe that's just been my decision to be an inactive participant in some of those emotional recharge requirements. And then at the same time, I always like to ask the question of, if you're unsure of your limits, do you ask for help, Or maybe you've kind of reached your low battery in that area. And do you need support for that? Because I think, again, sometimes the hardest thing to do with some of these prompts is acknowledging that maybe you need a little bit of help, or maybe you need to start in a slightly different step, or maybe zoom out or zoom back in. But the things I really hit on was for 10 years, I was an officer in the Navy, and I suffered from decision-making fatigue. And I know that absolutely had an impact on my emotional battery in so many different ways. And I am still trying to kind of break that habit, which is why I kind of have the stance that I do. But it was just, I can remember those days very vividly of coming back feeling like I had held my breath all day and then just not wanting to make any decisions, completely detached emotionally. Like I said, I'm working on it. But that's why this was a little tricky for me, is that mentally I was going to be able to do it, but I was also kind of ignoring some things. So this hit that thing that I haven't quite fixed yet. So I'm still on the fence about how I feel about it. But that was kind of what came out as I explored this. And that is what I genuinely appreciate about these mind maps, is sometimes the questions just flow so easily. The answers are right there. And I'm happy and optimistic and just really pleased with it. And then there are others that I just have to sit, and it calls out the things that I just kind of need to have a moment in the mirror with myself and figure out what we're going to do about it. So I know if you come to these socials before, this is probably not the attitude that I usually have with that, but this one just hits me in all the spots. And then, so I'm going to give you some time to work on this. I'm going to turn on some great instrumentals to kind of help with this, but I would love your perspectives on how do you recharge your batteries. I'm always looking for new fun ways to do that. Part of the joy I get is with making playlists, and this is one of those that I do like. So we will see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. That is what I love about these socials is that we are all having kind of those same moments, and the instant connection here is where even I don't feel as bad that I get a little hung up on the decision fatigue and that kind of thing. It's like, well, am I weird? Am I just is it just something that I have to deal with? But seeing that a lot of you are kind of have been in similar situations or can relate or have that really good feedback, I love it. You guys came up with such amazing tasks to do this. The song that just played was Long Way Home. That's been one of my kind of other coping mechanisms. It's just kind of, especially when I need to separate the work and the home, I take a long way home. I take a different route. I kind of delay it. And that was the same thing that I learned at work in the military is, if I got just absolutely yelled at or made a mistake, and it wasn't everybody's fault. They would ask if we needed to take the long way back to the meeting room. And so we would go and do that. And it gave me enough time to get all of those emotional feelings in check and make sure the message was clear without all of that. So that has been a really good advice for me, was always kind of take the long way home if you need to. But all of the other suggestions were amazing and I loved that. And then if you didn't quite get to this or you didn't quite have that kind of aha moment, I like the don't force what doesn't flow. You're allowed to take space and revisit things later. That is what I like about the mind map question, is because this is something you can just jot down and you have the rest of the week to kind of come back to it and think about it, especially if you maybe ended up in a similar position with me with it's still things that I am working on. And so now we've added that nice little spotlight to it. And so I'll sit and think about ways to kind of adjust it now and new lenses, new perspective, all those things can kind of help with it. But as we move through these, definitely let me know if I need to go back to a different slide as we go. And same thing with, please feel free to even continue in the chat sharing examples, even when we moved on to a different section. And that's just because we are in a time crunch. But thank you everybody for sharing. So now we are going to do our Rosebud Thorn Reflection, which is on page 30 in your March journal. And this is what I love about the other kind of component of the weekly setups is the opportunity to kind of reflect on the previous week. And that's where to acknowledge the rose, that was a highlight, something that went well, something that made you smile, something that brought out the sparkle, something that kind of added to your zest or brought out the passion and the energy, to be able to acknowledge that. But then also kind of highlight a bud, which can be an emerging opportunity, something you're looking forward to, something that you can maybe cultivate into a rose, something that's maybe just out on the horizon and you don't know what it is yet, but maybe you can stop, and continue something to kind of turn it into a rose. But then also on that kind of opposite end of that teeter-totter, the thorn, and that's the ability to acknowledge that something that maybe didn't go as well. It was a challenge, something that was negative, something that is taking up too much time, energy, and space in your brain and your heart and your body, and being able to kind of look at the good, the bad, and everything in between. And then being able to kind of leave it either here in the social, putting it out into the universe, or again, pulling it into some of those actionable items that we can carry over into those weekly pages that we're going to set up next. So for me, my rose this week was the highlight was I had some really good connection conversations with friends. One of my drama friends who just kind of randomly messaged me because she knew she was in the neighborhood and was like, you got time for coffee on a Thursday afternoon? And I was like, yes, done. Let me put on shoes and I will be right out there. So it was really fun to do that. And it was just a really, really good break. The emerging opportunity, as I have talked about, I am in the middle of my reread of one of my favorite book series. I just finished book 3, headed to book 4. Oh, and it's the journey I want. I'm headed into the like romantasy type book. And I'm so excited because I love these characters and I'm ready to cheer them on. So I've just been absorbed in that, and I've got at least, 2 books left. So I'm so excited. And then the thorn, hear me out because I am overseas. I love Girl Scout cookies. I was a Girl Scout. My mom was the cookie manager for me and my sister's troop. So at one point, for like 3 years, she was a dual cookie manager. And I just got really sad that I was missing Girl Scout cookies because I'm seeing all my friends' little girls who are selling them and they're posting them. And I was craving tag-alongs. So I'm just a little sad that I don't have Girl Scout cookies. But I did also, with this opportunity on page 30, To also kind of call out a little bit is I feel like we've had some kind of tough thorns. I know, again, tone shift. But also took it as a sign because the gentle reminders for grief, that was actually posted on the Slip and Sonder Instagram today. So I took it as a little bit of a sign. And I thought this was a little bit poignant, especially with the rosebud thorn, is that, maybe you're feeling some just tougher feels, maybe feeling a little heartbroken, maybe kind of having some grief things. And I just thought these were really, really nice, iconic, like the iconography of just the gentle reminders to kind of help us with the rosebud thorns. Not that it solves anything, not that it potentially makes anything better, but I thought it was just a really nice call out when it kind of came to the rosebud thorns. But if you want to share in the chat, we'd love to celebrate those roses, get excited for the buds, but then again, hold space and thoughts and prayers for all of those thorns. So we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. And by no means am I trying to bring everybody down. It just seemed like that there was just a lot of loss or a lot of just sadness and kind of that overarching heartbreak. And we all know grief is a tricky thing, whether we've experienced that recently or just in our past. So I was getting all the signs that we needed to maybe take a small moment to just acknowledge this. But I appreciate everybody for sharing. And sometimes I always feel a little bit of the weight on my shoulders to say the right thing, set the right tone, but I just couldn't ignore the visuals that were getting sent to me to kind of take that moment. So I appreciate everyone a little bit on that of just kind of holding that space. But still, we had some amazing roses, a lot of really great buds that are looking forward to, and then obviously holding some extra strength and support for those tough thorns. They always can be tricky no matter what they were. So now let's get into the weekly planner pages. The why you are here. And so the way I always kick off the weekly planner pages is that there is no right or wrong way to do these. Take a moment to ask yourself, what do you need this week? And sometimes you need exactly is it written on the pages, and other weeks you need it to look completely different because you want to go in a different direction. And sometimes what you need is for them to remain blank or covered with a doodle and a sticker, because that's just not what you need. So here are just some overarching general idea for repurposing, but just because I provide an example for repurposing or the way I talk through it it is not the only way to do that. So being able to kind of zoom back out, ask yourself, what do you need this week? Or maybe what do you need from the previous week to go into this week? That is always a really great spot to start if you get a little stuck in the scary thing that is the blank page. And as Jen just reminded us, this is on page 32 and 33 in your March journal. So we are going to start at the top of that page on page 32 with this week I want to feel. I always approach this the same with asking myself, how do I want to feel this time next week? I like to take a little bit of that ownership. And if you hadn't noticed, I'm a little bit of that type A personality. So I want a goal. I got to find a goal. So this helps me establish a goal. And so as I am experiencing those roads, buds, and thorns of the day to day or the week to week, I can always come back to this goal. And with the support of my to-do list and my weekly major goals and my habits and activities to kind of take that ownership back. So good way that's again my perspective on how I start with it. So you can always ask yourself, how do you want to feel? And again, maybe it is the same word that you had last week. Maybe it is your word of the year. Maybe it is your word of the month. Maybe you want to dive a little bit deeper into the theme. So maybe you want to sparkle a little bit more this week. I've become a big fan of the percents. Maybe it's 1% better. Maybe it's 5% happier. Maybe it's 10% more hydrated. But also, again, dealing with the duality, which I think is also really great about vitality, is that vitality is not only that kind of charging and use of energy, but also the kind of rest and refresh portion of it. You know, we're not Energizer bunnies. At some point, we do need to take that moment to recharge those batteries. So maybe you need more of something, less of something. Maybe you want to bring in something and then let go of something. And then sometimes you have no words and a sticker is the best way to do it. Or sometimes it is a doodle, or sometimes it's a phrase or an affirmation. So if you want to share in the chat, how do you want to feel this time next week? I'm going to play a quick little song, but I love the intentional optimism of this particular part of the page. And then we'll move into the next sections. So we'll see. Okay, so now that we have how we want to feel this week, and don't worry, if you don't quite have that word yet, Bailey, one of our facilitators, she actually does this one last because she sets everything else up, and this is kind of her big summation of what she wants her week to look like. So this could definitely be one of those that you kind of come back to after you've worked through your to-dos and your goals and your habities. And then even the B side. So being able to come back and summarize is like, this is what my week's going to look like, I think is always a great look there. And so now we're going to move on to those weekly major three goals. And I'm going to combine these next two sections, the weekly major three goals and the to-do list, just because we do have a lot of people that will combine those as is, either through the categories or just their setup. So we like to kind of put them a little bit together. And so the weekly major three goals, for me, these tend to be the overarching kind of big ideas, the helpful reminders, the mental and emotional kind of mantras that I need to get me through the week so that I can feel the way I want to feel this time next week. And a lot of ways that this can be done is through categories. Maybe it's a professional goal, a mind goal, and a body goal. We are a sucker for alliterations, so maybe it's creative, capable, and a carefree goal. Or maybe again, these are just the three things that you need to do. You want to choose a novelty, release stagnation, and kind of cultivate learning. Or maybe you're like, no, no categories, no goals. I just want to talk about the fun movies, the shows, the books, and the creative projects because you're diving a little bit into on how you're going to recharge your battery. So maybe those things that we talked about in the mind map, maybe that's actually the three goals you want to accomplish because you want to do three things that's going to charge your emotional battery, your physical battery, and your social battery. So I thought I was actually focusing on the battery thing. So it was going to be the three things that I feel like I needed to really recharge for that. So I am focusing on a physical recharge, mental recharge, and a social recharge. Those are my three examples. Who knew? Amazing how that worked. But you also could maybe you have three goals that you want to do each day. So you have an early goal, a midday goal, and an evening goal. And again, more of the alliterations. You'll start to see the commonality of the bingo boards. We love a good bingo board. You can turn kind of essentially at this point any section into a bingo board. And it can be any type of theme, anything you want to focus on. But what I always like to recommend with the bingo boards, especially if you use it for your weekly goals or your to-do list, is there are certain things that take up your time that are not things that you decide on. So appointments, meetings, some of those things, we all have the same 24 hours, but we do not always all have the same demands. So including some of those, I think always highlights and helps you manage your expectations. But when I talk about combining the sections, the one at the bottom is a great example. They have a planning and a doing and a peacefulness goal. So the mind, body, and soul, those are their three things they want to focus on. And then there's a direct correlation between their to-do list or the things that they are going to do to support those categories, to support the end goal that they have for each of those categories. And sometimes these are, again, more of those general reminders. Maybe you want to stop doing something. Again, maybe you just need those gentle reminders. Maybe you pulled some of those grief reminders or the heartbreak reminders. And then I have a couple other ones for like bad day reminders. Like I said, got in all the feels. Or maybe this is where you want to put your weekly affirmations. Maybe these are the things that are going to add to your sparkle. You want to track your sparkle. You want to track your goals. All those things can be listed here. And then we move into the weekly to-dos. I am more of a to-do person, but whether it's a to-do list, a to-do list, we just want them to done. So this is a section that I do change a lot personally. And part of it is just because to me, sometimes they can be random things on a list. And so sometimes I can leave them as random things on a to-do list. Sometimes I can bring in the to-do list. But other times I may need help with that prioritization, which is where the Eisenhower matrix comes in. And that's the do, decide, delegate, or delete. In my case, I do live alone, so I cannot delegate too many things, but I do find ways to delegate. A lot of it is if I am just not in the mood to cook or clean, I delegate that out and I will happily do so. And I never delete anything, I just delay it. And then again, maybe you have certain things for each day. Maybe you just need to recategorize your to-dos with a needs or a wants. Maybe it's, you're really focusing on that recharge. So it's the things you don't want to do and then things to do instead. I liked the idea of breaking it into those work goals and personal goals, or work to dos and personal to dos, and doing the needs and the things that you want. Or maybe it is just the reminder to be, maybe it is that recharge thing, or maybe you're like, Katie, I have no to dos, or I don't want to track my to dos. I got them elsewhere. They're on my phone, they're on a different section. And so maybe it is that nice little kind of reinvigorating sticker, or a doodle or a picture, something that kind of fills that blank space, but not adding additional pressure to the week that you've already had. So I'm going to give you some time to work on this. I would love to hear, are you a categories person? What are your goals you're trying to accomplish this week? And how do you incorporate those to-dos? We'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. So we are still going to stay on page 32, but now we're going to move to that habits and activity tracker, or the habities, as Maya has coined it. We have our own, fun little phrases and words here in Sonder fam. But the weekly habit and activity tracker, I think, is really great. And the way I use it with my monthly habit and tracker is the monthly habits. Those are the things I want to do every single day. I then pull my same three that I do because I am a creature of habit, and that is the move, journal, and read. I will pull those three over into my habits and activity weekly tracker and add what I call the lens of reality, which is where I manage my expectations on how much time or energy or effort I can put into those three different activities based on my workload, weather, feelings, all those type of things. So because that's where I realized I was not doing as great on this section, and I was really beating myself up about it when really I just wasn't managing my expectations well. And part of that is, I want to move every day, and sometimes my movement is a full workout in a gym, and I'm great, and it's great, and it's awesome. And then there are other days where I'm just not feeling it. My workload is chaotic, and I just have time for the like 20-minute walk from here to the library because I want to read, or those type of things. It becomes that errand. And so there are a couple other ways that you can approach this as well. Maybe these are habities that you want to stop. Maybe these are less tangible activities, and again, more of some of those squishy reminders to do it. You can add a goal to it. One of the ways to kind of add that goal is with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. You want to do something 5 times, 4 times, 3 times, 2 times, 1 time. Or maybe you don't want to add a goal to it, too much pressure. Whew, no right or wrong way. And just because there are 5 different lines does not mean you need to do something. Sometimes you only want to do 2 things, 3 things. Maybe, again, you weren't feeling great this past week. So all you want to do this week is to feel better, get better. I also like the breakdown that your work week or weekdays may look a little bit different than your weekends. So you can kind of make those adjustments there, or maybe include things that you already have scheduled. I really liked the bottom right one. I found this again on Instagram of 5 days to schedule every month. And I thought that it was really great that you could kind of incorporate maybe one of these as one of your habits and activities, because I thought they were really fun. I thought the ideas were really great. And so to be able to kind of shake up your habities a little bit, I think is always fun. And then, like I said, if you've been to one of my socials before, I love the iconography that these things create. So if you need a fun activity to start include or start marking off that bucket list or adventure list, here are some really fun ideas to start incorporate with March. I love it when there's a new month because I get new of these. But I think those again are just really fun ways to incorporate these, because what I personally have found successful is I bring my 3 categories over that I want to do every single day. I add my lens of reality, and then I always want to do something fun or unique or different. So at a minimum, I will have 4 habits and activities that I track each week. But at the same time, what's also nice about this is if I'm on vacation or traveling, sometimes it is just a sticker. Sometimes it's a sticker, it's I cannot be bothered. And that was the kind of bottom right example of your potential is endless. And you just give yourself that gentle reminder of this is not what I need this week, and that's okay. And what I think is also clever, I know Jennifer has used it before, is you can also use this section to help you help yourself. So maybe you need to check in with your intentions. That's one of your habits and activities. Or maybe you want to focus on the journal prompts on a daily basis. So incorporating that as one of your habits and activities help you help yourself kind of work through the journal as you start to figure out what is going to be your personal journal cadence incorporating your self-care. I'm going to give you some time to work on this, and we'll see you soon for the next page. Thank you everyone for sharing. So now we're going to flip over to page 33, and I am going to cover this whole page, this whole section, just because I do lovingly refer to this as the B-side. Music is my love language. So I treat it as a record. I will absolutely diligently do the A-side, the first page that we just completed each and every week. B-side, which is the second page, I usually don't use most of the time. They're just sections that they have some great gems for when I really need it. But for most of the time, I was just really beating myself over like half completing the sections because it just wasn't how my brain operates. It's not how my week operates. And so I will occasionally listen to the B side, but for the most part, I stick to my A side. So for the meal plan, this is absolutely something you can use as a meal plan or a meal prep. It is something that you can do for planning and preparation purposes, or it's something that you can use in real time. I have used it for real time because I have an autoimmune condition called ulcerative colitis. And so I was tracking my meals when I started to have a little bit of what I think is a flare or a superficial flare. So I'll track everything that I eat there and work with my primary care to go through it. So maybe that's how you use it as a meal plan. Maybe you repurpose it as the one good thing. Maybe it's acknowledging something that energized you that day. Maybe this is where your to-do list lives. I thought the daily doodles was really fun because sometimes you maybe don't know what it is. I also have used it to like pull a sticker for each day. I've got them in small little baggies and I'll pull a random one and have a little mini reflection on it because I have turned the meal plan into more of a meal plan for the soul. So a little bit more reflection there, and then I'll carry it over into the next pages for the weekly spread to kind of give a full rundown of my thoughts, feelings, and things. But it's also just a really good mental break for me. And then maybe it's more of where the affirmations live. Maybe it's your priorities. I've also used it as a clothing guide. I use it for packing, especially when I'm traveling for work, so that I can do it with a carry-on, which usually requires some repurposing and not many shoes. I like to pack a lot of shoes, so it has helped me to do that. Maybe you want to track more of those highlights, those wins. You know, how did you find happy today? How were you energized today? Dive a little bit more into a word of the day. The mind body health plan can go a little bit hand in hand with, again, is this something you want to pre-schedule, pre-plan for, something that you want to kind of track in real time? So maybe you are focusing on those alliterations for each day. You have a different theme for each day of the week. I love Nathania, who's one of our regular socialers, with the very elegantly simple T-chart with this is what I'm feeling, this is what I need. And she does that at the beginning of each day to kind of reflect on what maybe adjustments she need to incorporate into her mind, body health because of the way she kind of wakes up with all the feelings. Maybe this is where a sticker just needs to live, those gentle reminders, some of those other ideas. Um, Maybe again, you want to incorporate some of those things to look forward to. Maybe again, it is more of a focus on a journal prompt, a reading log. I saw that one of their habits is that they track their progress on Goodreads, one of those people as well. So putting it on a reading log, maybe you're focusing on those 7 types of rests to help you come to your natural state through vitality. And then just because I was, again, kind of a little bit in my feels, I thought these were really good reminders. One, to kind of how you fill your cup, another fun way to incorporate recharging. And then clearly with like the Girl Scout cookies and the cookie other quote, I was in a sweet feeling mood, but I thought these were also great bad day reminders because I just feel like we were just we could do without last week or even some of the days last week. So I was in the moods. And then you have that rounding out this page with the shopping list, and that again can go hand in hand with those meal plans. Maybe this is a bingo board. We love the bingo boards. I know Jen has come up with some really great themed bingo boards around birthdays and seasons and her little grandbabies. So it's super fun, but maybe it is just the boring stuff bingo, celebrating the wins bingo, re-energizing yourself bingo. Maybe it's ideas for mini breaks. Maybe it is definitely a buy and not buy reminder, or maybe it again, those reminders to be kind, to be quiet, be still. Maybe you want to incorporate some of the glimmer bingos, which is taking those small moments and being a little bit more present. Or again, tracking your wardrobe because you work from home or you have some of those things. So can't be caught in the same outfit more than once in one week. But I would love to hear how you're doing the second page. I'm going to put on another song and then we will get ready for closing and we will see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Yes, and who knew that we needed Journey and Beethoven in a chamber music style quartet mashup, but it made me happy and I really enjoyed it. And then the very last section on this page is the I am loving, and that is your ability to just kind of shout, throw out anything that you're loving, something that is making you happy, something that is energizing you, something that is making you sparkle, something that is embracing the vitality mindset. So love being able to do that. If you would like to share in the chat what you are currently loving, we always love to see that, especially ending a social on that kind of really optimistic kind of moment. That's why you come here. We love to get in all the feels, but we always got to end on that high, exciting moment as we get ready to tackle our week. We would love to continue the conversation in the Silk and Sonder app across all the different methods. So if you would like to share your pages, we would love to see them. You guys provide amazing examples, as you have just witnessed in the socials, but you guys are the best accountability buddies we could have. We are also still working through our beta version of the 24/7 AI generated online personalized coach, Jenny, which some of our facilitators do use and they love. She is a great friend to have. She'll help you with some of those pages as you need it. And if you have any other questions about it, please do feel free to reach out. Because again, like we said, we are in that beta version, so we're always looking for examples. Same thing if you want to try out our new digital journal version, you can reach out to them. Does not mean you need to cancel any of those. It's just another way we can try out and offer. And we love the feedback. We need the feedback because we want this to be special and something that you can use and tangible in all different versions. And then, as always, here is my playlist. I will include the Spotify link in the chat. And I do save all of my setup playlists. So if you need a good 30-minute vibe based on themes, I include the month of theme. And there's a good mix of instrumentals as well as the kind of beginning and end with the lyric songs. So if you need some of those vibes, highly recommend it. But thank you, everybody, for sharing with us. I appreciate the pause that we took. I am ready to handle my week. I hope you are ready as well. We're going to have a great week. We're going to have a great first week of March, and I hope to see you at a future event. I know Jennifer and I are going to be switching spots for the social tomorrow, so I'll be sitting in the stage manager role and she'll be in the camera facing, but we hope to see you at a future event. You guys have an amazing rest of your day. Have an amazing week, and we will see you soon. Bye.
In a world of endless wonder, where the wild wind blows, every path here before us is a story to be told. With hearts full of courage and spirits so alive, we'll chase the rising sun with every mile that we drive. To explore outside our door. The future's all too many. So running wild and making memories to unknown destinations to feel young and free. To explore adventure. We'll follow the compass wherever it points. Adventure awaits. Adventure, adventure.